Welcome, Andrea, to your conversation. Very, very happy to have you here at the show today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You are about to embark on a East Coast tour on a tribute show for Tracy Chapman. Now, you are not a stranger to LOTL. We have interviewed you around 10 years ago. It was interesting to see that you are still very much into Tracy Chapman. Then we talk a little bit about, your background with Tracy Chapman, or how you came to, perform her songs.
Yeah, thanks so much. I personally got into music when I was 21, so a little bit later. I didn't realize you could be a singer-songwriter as a career. And Tracy Chapman was an artist that always stood out to me as someone I looked up to when I got into songwriting, because her sound is acoustic, it's very live, and I loved her music and lyrics. So especially her first two albums were my favorites. And I would always play covers of her songs at gigs that I was doing early on. And then it's music that has stuck with me and has always been a crowd favorite as well. So, yeah, her influence on my career has been quite important to me, just to keep the integrity of the songs, and also keeping a live sound is what I've always been passionate about. So that being said, with this tour that we're doing, my bass player on the tour is playing bass on keys for most of the 2-hour concert we're doing. So we're doing 22 of her songs from her 8 albums, Tracy's 8 albums, and the bass will be played on keys, and then he's also using synth pads and special effects to create basically the sounds that are on Tracy's albums. And so it is we've done this tour once before, but mostly based around Southeast Queensland and Northern New South Wales. But this time we're coming down to Sydney on November the 3rd, which is this Thursday, and we are playing at the Camelot Lounge. So doors open at 7:30, show starts at 8, and it'll be a 2-hour show with an interval. So it should all finish by about 10:30. And yeah, we're just playing Tracy's songs. So as you probably are aware, she's a very private person and there's not much on her online. She's done a handful of interviews, but always it seems like she wants people to experience the songs themselves and not necessarily give her background on why she wrote the songs. And so this tour is definitely the same. We'll be playing the songs. I'll be talking a little bit, but it's more about just people enjoying the music of Tracy Chapman rather than us putting our spin on it.
I was wondering about this because you're right. You cannot find a lot about Tracy Chapman. I don't even know how old she is now, if she's still performing. I assume she would be, I don't know, in her 70s.
No, she's actually in her late 50s. She had a breakout record in sort of 87, 88, and she was in her sort of, early 20s then. And I think, you can find some backgrounds to songs, but yeah, I've watched interviews of her where she would prefer people to feel the songs and lyrics themselves and come up with their own meanings. So for me, this tour is not so much about trying to be like Tracy Chapman. It's just sharing the music, encouraging people to sing along. There's some songs that I have a really strong connection with, say Sub City is one that I really connect with because it talks about social issues as far as people who are in that level of society that's very close to either being homeless or very much forgotten by the government. So I actually lost a brother to homelessness in Sydney, in Marrickville. This was many years ago, but we only discovered it in 2020, which is why whenever I come to Sydney, I always visit Marrickville and play at the Camelot Lounge.
Tracy Chapman is not performing anymore, is she?
Not apparently. She does some charity gigs, but I haven't seen anything that she's done in maybe even in the last 8 years or so. I think she did one one or two TV appearances. There was one that she did during the last elections, and I think she's just a very, very private person. She seems quite introverted as well, which I really admire that her integrity throughout her career. She's really just maintained who she is as a person, and it seems as a performer as well. Like, I watched an interview of her talking about when she sort of came back into the music industry with her sort of fourth album, and she was very much taking the reins as far as arranging the songs with people and musicians that she wanted to work with rather than using session musicians. And I've sort of taken that path. Like, I've always produced music myself independently with the people I want to make music with. So, but my first album, I used session musicians just because I was new to the Sunshine Coast and I didn't know anyone. It's definitely a dream of mine to see her live. Friends of mine have seen her live. Even I put on a show for Neil Murray, and he was saying he supported her in Canberra in the early 90s. And he said he went to say hello to her and she was really, really, really shy. So I imagine even if I did meet her, she would probably be quite shy, and I wouldn't. I don't have any expectations to meet her, but I just love the music, and I want to play those songs because I do play them at my shows with my band. So I thought, well, let's do a specialty show where we celebrate 22 of her songs and perform them so that the crowd can enjoy the music and we can enjoy playing it as well. And who knows, one day, if she does tour Australia, we can put ourselves forward as maybe her backing band. That would be pretty cool if we would rehearse with maybe just like a secret goal to do that.
But you did speak to her producer or management to get clearance for using the songs. Is that right? Did I read that right on the website?
I looked up the producer that she worked with for the first two albums, and his name's David Kirschenbaum, because I was thinking, this was back, I think, in 2018, the last time we did the tour, and I just contacted him to see if he's still producing, and he is. And I was thinking maybe I could go for a grant to work with him on one of my albums, but then the price to work with him as a producer would basically be my whole budget to make an album. So that was the connection there, is that he told me some personal stories about working with Tracy Chapman, but when I asked him if I could share them on tour, he said that legally he's not allowed to sort of say things about the time that he worked with Tracy. So I do want to honour that and make sure that I understand Tracy's a private person, so I'm not trying to quote her or anything like that. It's really just trying to pay respect to the music and share it with people who love her music, and just encouraging people to connect with these songs that they might not be familiar with some of the songs from later albums. So yeah, we're bringing 22 of her songs to life as part of the.
Very cool. Well, good on you for doing this. As you said earlier, it really is a crowd pleaser. People love Tracy Chapman, and not only this, they also have memories. What's your first memory?
It would definitely be sitting on the school bus, probably when I was 7 years old, and I heard Fast Car, and then around that time, my brothers gave me their CD collection, and her debut album was in there. And I remember looking at the cover art, wondering if she was a girl or a boy. And it was my first experience of seeing someone who defied the gender norms. And so I really respect that as well, is that she's just been herself the whole time. And yeah, it's really, for me as an LGBT artist, that's something that I've carried in my career as well. Like, just, it's just who I am naturally, and I just make the music that I make, but it's not necessarily obvious in my music. It's the music I write, and people can interpret it the way that they interpret it themselves.
And you mentioned before that you are a songwriter as well. Have you, over the last years, have you recorded any records or EPs and performed others than Tracy Chapman songs?
So I have 5 albums. So the last time I did an interview with LOTL was when I released my debut album, and that was back in 2013. And I did another 2 albums, one with my band and one just with myself and my sister. And on that one, I put a cover of Fast Car and a few other covers as well by Eva Cassidy, was a Sting song, Fields of Gold, Here Comes the Sun, Amazing Grace. And that was just like a singer-songwriter album. And then I put out a children's album with another LGBT artist, Nissa Ray. So that one's on Spotify, and it's called Songs for Our Little Friends. And it won a Q Music Award for Best Children's Song for a song called Love Everybody, which is just about accepting people for who they are, regardless of, whether they have brown hair, no hair, like that kind of thing. It's really funny in the lyrics. And then my latest album, Bloom, I put out last year with my 13-piece band. So that one was the one that I was going to potentially work with the producer from America, but I decided instead of that I would just make it myself, produce it myself, and go for it as far as like the band arrangements. So it has strings, horns, and that one's not on Spotify. I withheld my music from Spotify just because I do believe that the industry needs to value artist content more than it is, just because it's so costly to make albums, and then we put them up and it really affects our album sales. But yeah, I am open to returning all of my albums to streaming platforms. If I see a change in the industry, or if there is an exchange where I feel like it's fairer for artists. Latest album is on Tidal and other streaming platforms, but my first 3 albums are not online at the moment. So because I'm independent, I can sort of do what I like with my music. So what I've done basically since I spoke to you guys last is really focused on engaging with my local community here on the Sunshine Coast. So most of my career has been hyper local, and then I've traveled to do festivals for people who know me through word of mouth. And then just recently I went overseas and attended a music conference in Canada and a music conference in Portugal with the goal of connecting the Sunshine Coast music industry artists with international programmers. And that was really successful, and hopefully I can bring some of those bands I discovered across to Australia as well and help them tour and build up like international touring pathways for independent artists as well. So I've also moved more into an advocating space for working with council and programming events. And so I used to do just music, and then during COVID I opened up a shop front, and now I program for festivals and put on boutique tours just like this Tracy Chapman tour.
So you said you're starting off in Sydney and
Yeah.
Marrickville on the 3rd of November, and then you're gradually making your way up the coast.
I start with my band on Thursday night in Sydney, Marrickville, and then we head back to a beautiful hall in a town called Wauchope, which is near Port Macquarie, and I'll do a show there. That one's quite a beautiful venue on the folk touring circuit. I've played there a few times, and they're a lovely community, and everyone brings a plate of food as well, so it's got that real community vibe that I love. And then we're playing at Bellingen Showgrounds on the Saturday night, the 5th, and then back up to Brisbane to play the Old Museum on the 6th of November. And then I'll come home and walk the dog and just do all the normal things during the week. And then we've got a sold-out show on the Sunshine Coast, followed by Rainbow Beach, which is another beautiful community about an hour north of the Sunshine Coast. And then we'll head down to Byron Bay on the 13th to play the Byron Theatre. And then I'm going to add a second show to the Sunshine Coast because I've got about 30 people on the wait list to come. So we'll do one more show at the Gold Coast on Sunday the 20th of November at a really beautiful venue called the Dust Temple, and then we'll finish with another Thursday show up here. I think it's the 24th of November. We'll do a second show on the Sunshine Coast in Nambour, where I'm based.
And how can people get tickets for that? Is that on your website?
Yeah,
or?
you can visit Peace Run Records, which is my label and agency. So it's peacerunrecords.com/events. Otherwise, you can just Google Andrea Kirwin, Tracy Chapman, and it'll come up. And basically, on our Peace Run Records Facebook pages, we've got all the events there with the links. But probably the easiest one is just to visit peacerunrecords.com, and then that takes you to the events. You can click on the events tab, and they're all there. All the links. The two songs that everybody knows from Tracy Chapman are Fast Car and Give Me One Reason. So we went into the studio just before I left for overseas, and we recorded 2 live versions with my band. And so I would say Give Me One Reason is one that, is probably, Tracy won a Grammy for that one, as well as for her album, her debut album, which had Fast Car on it. So I really love Fast Car because there's no other song like that, and the story it tells as well. It's as far as songwriting goes, it really captures the feeling of someone trying to break out of that, that economic boundary that we experience. And it's the same with musicians. Like, living hand to mouth is something that I think we've all experienced as musicians. So, yeah, Fast Car is my personal favourite.
Okay, let's play that then.
I wanna take it anyway. Maybe we can make it deep. Maybe together we could get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me and myself, I got nothing to prove. You got a fast car, I got a plan. Get us out of here, been working at the convenience store. Managed to save a little bit of money, we won't have to drive too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs, finally see what it means to be living. See, no man's got a problem. Live with the bottle, that's the way it is. City body's so old. Said his body's too young, look like his. My mama went off and left him. One of them from life that he could give. I said somebody's got to take care of him. I quit school, that's what I did. You got a fast car, fast enough so we can fly away. We gotta make a decision. Lead the night, I let me die to space. Cause I remember when we were around, driving in your car, speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights lit up before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. I had a feeling that I belong. I had a feeling that I'd be someone. You got a fast car, we go cruising at the thing I said. Still ain't got a job. Work at the market as a checkout girl. I know things will get better. You'll find work and I'll get promoted, and we'll move out of the shelter. Buy a bigger house and live in the suburbs. I remember when we were driving in your car. Speeds are fast, but like I was drunk. City lights laid out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. I had a feeling that I belong. I had a feeling that it's someone, it's someone, it's someone. A job as a library, stay out of Reagan, let the boss see more of your friends, doing your keys, and I was hoping better. Don't baby together, you make it fine, and I got no plans, ain't going nowhere. Take it fast, come and keep on driving. 'Cause I remember when we were driving in your car, speeds fast, but like I was drunk. City lights laid out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. I had a feeling that I belong. I had a feeling that it's someone, it's someone, it's someone. So you can fly your way. You gotta make a decision. Lead the night and let me die this way.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea. I really appreciated taking your time before you go on your tour. And I wish you a sold-out tour.
Thank you so much for the show. I'm such a fan of what you guys do. And yeah, I look forward to connecting more with the Sydney crew and Sydney audience in the future as well.
Great. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like more queer conversation, make sure to follow us at LOTL Media or check out our website, LOTL.com, where you can also find 30 years of archive of Lesbians on the Loose magazine. My name is Silke Bader, and thank you for your company.